Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. So this afternoon, I wanted to do a short video on an archetype that actually, when I picked this, it was quite interesting because it was related to the subject that I was planning to talk about anyway. And that is the Trickster Archetype. Okay. And the trickster archetype is an archetype that in many ways has been very strong in the collective for the last few years. And it's becoming very obvious to many people how much the trickster is shown up in the collective. And part of the Age of Awakening has been, for us as, spiritual light workers, is about seeing past that trickery and being able to, it's about opening the third eye, opening ourselves to new perspectives, being able to look at the darkest elements of within ourselves and being able to see the darkest elements within the collective and obviously see the highest dimensions of light, and to obviously recognize at our core we have this God spark of light. But wounding, fear, lack, lots of lower energies, shadow energies, can often bring the trickster up. And when the trickster archetype is at play, it's all about deception, illusion, manipulation. And that can mean lots of different things. Now, in marketing, one of the reasons many people come to me or to work with me is they recognize at a core level many forms of marketing and branding, that has been used in the modern world, even say the last 50 years, and it's probably get maybe worse over the last 20 years, how highly not just manipulative, but really, really deceptive and illusionary. And if we look at the media, we just look at the illusion that many people have now got to degree. If you think about young people, the trickster convinces us and has us looking elsewhere and looking at things from a different perspective and maybe not the truth. And if we look at young people who feel they have to manipulate their body, they have to keep using all these filters, and they end up spending a large part of their time on social media using filters to shrink them, to make their lips look bigger, to make their skin look, all these things. And in many ways, that's levels of illusion. And there's a very dark element to that has become normalized to such a degree that it's infiltrated into everything. But the reality is that the trickster is tricking the mind and can trick the emotions, even can trick in a spiritual world. That's what happens. We can see this when people are tricked by maybe nefarious guides or things that they believe, whether we're getting information or whatever from the highest, guides and light, when it turns out maybe not. All these things with the trickster can play. But the reality is playing out a big, big way that many people are starting to open their eyes to this trickster in society in many forms of, I'm again trying to watch what I say so I don't get shut off, is the levels of society and government in the world of where the trickster has been playing out. What happens when the trickster, particularly the negative aspect of the trickster, right, is playing out, is that people can get hoodwinked, they can get caught up into a narrative, a story, or only see things. And we all can find ourselves in the trickster mindset when we have a belief about something. And until we get more information or new knowledge or new insight or consciousness, we may see that situation completely different. It's like when someone takes a picture of something, but they take it from a certain angle. If you look at that picture and you only go by the information that you see, and you're only seeing it from an angle, you may make up a story and believe that you're seeing something. And it may not be the truth, but if someone deliberately takes it from a certain angle or does things to make it appear a certain way, or even suggests and puts a title to that, that can lead us into the deception. Now, the problem that we have at the moment is there's a large part of the world waking up and recognizing that they've been tricked. There's been illusion at play. And when the collective feels something, even if there's certain aspects that we have not seen, you know, we've not been, how could you say, a victim for that trickery or illusion, and in the sense that we maybe saw what was coming, it can still be hard because if you see other people being tricked or hoodwinked, and then the collective that go through this trickery and illusion feel all sorts of emotion, right? And this is marketing is very similar, because people are sick and tired in many ways of manipulative, dishonest marketing, of things that promise the world and maybe not exactly do what it says in the packet, or maybe describe something, but the reality is not really anything like that. The consumer then gets a bit tainted and is a little bit more septic, or a wee bit more critically, they apply a wee bit more critical think, or they want more information, they want to feel seen more, and they want to feel that transparency. And it's transparency, some people think transparency is about just going on and doing a video and sharing something, or just going on and sharing a picture of you, or just writing something. Transparency for the consumer can mean so much more different than what you think the consumer's looking for. It in many ways, it's at the unconscious level, because like when the trickster is playing a game, the trickster is manipulating the mind, but at the conscious level the person doesn't recognize it, because they're tricking them using things that will trigger the unconscious, right? And marketing in many ways is a big component of the unconscious, because, for example, say we go out to buy a new pair of shoes or a handbag, right? Do you really need that handbag or shoes? Now, you might be going to a wedding, you say, of course I need that because I'm going to a wedding and it has to match or whatever. But there's different levels of what we would think would be needed, wanted. And then there's a deeper reason why you really, a deeper level why you want those shoes or those bags. So it could be that you want to look more feminine. You want to look more elegant. Maybe you want a pair of shoes that makes your feet look smaller. No, but also there's a deeper aspect of being more attractive, more loved, more accepted, right? And when people buy things and when people are looking for things, there's a lot of emotions going on, right? And there is lots of things that when people talk about alignment, I've heard a lot of people saying, but if I'm aligned, of course, there's a certain alignment. Also, alignment's not just the most obvious. It can be the most subtle things that you do that actually confuse people and maybe hint on the trickery, and it's not anything that you mean to do. And I'm going to give you an example, and this might, I remember, and I was in a group, and a coach, asked if people could go on and give complete, honest feedback about a website this person had, and you to compare it between the website and the Facebook page. And most people, there's not really much engagement, so I decided to take part. And they did say, please be as honest as you think. And one of the things that I noticed, which I found really strange about it, was that the site was beautiful looking site. It was a beautiful looking site. It was a very powerful looking site. It was very dark, rich greens, and it was the way it was done. It was done, which in many ways represented a lot of power. The energy and the theme and the branding was very power orientated, right? The imagery, the photography that was used was all about it. It came over power, and it had a strong energy about abundance and money. Someone that, if you looked at the website, it would appear it's someone that had really got their money issues sorted out. They were fabulous at manifesting. It was very regal. And I would say it was more the royalty brand, but there had a lot of, the goddess energy to it. But it was done very tastefully. But then you went to the person's Facebook, and the person that was on the Facebook page and the way that she'd done her videos, her posts, her content, and all the other things, nothing added up. In many ways, she came across very poverty-stricken in lots of things that she'd done on her page. And there was this website that was very much maybe where she wanted to go, but her Facebook page was representing at the moment where it appeared she was, right? And I actually, to keep looking, did I have the right Facebook page? I had to, but 3 times I looked at the page and kept matching up to say, is this the right? Because it actually looked like 2 completely different people from polar opposites, right? Now, I knew what was trying to be achieved, but it made me wonder who was giving her this advice and what was making her go for that. Was a marketing coach? Was it somebody else telling her this is what she had to do? But it wasn't really her. Was it coming through? And of course, there is an aspect of when we're selling something, it's the energy of what we're selling. But if we don't match up to that, it's not. And that's one example where the trickster can come in. And the trickster can come in all sorts of ways in our life. The trickster also can come in, it can trick our mind to believe certain things that are not true about ourselves. And it can trick us to believe and keep ourselves small and stop us owning what our real gifts are. And a trickster can convince us that we should be trying to be like somebody else, right? The reality is that we're all unique. We're all here to be unique, right? And part of even our unlocking more of ourselves is recognizing the deception we have within ourselves, or the deception that we're being told, or the deception we've seen. And as I talk about a lot, I meet lots of people and I work with lots of people in respect, not just the clients that work with me, but when I go and use services. And everybody has so many different points of view, and they can see it from differently. And it doesn't necessarily mean people are wrong, or even right. Everyone has different ideas, right? We can only go with our own truth. And it's like, for example, when you're going for intuition and spiritual guidance, the best advice is always using your own intuition, your own guidance, and not seeking for someone else, because it's often their own interpretation. But we all do it to sometimes get a little bit of help. But if we cannot start to own our own power and own our power and our own guidance ourselves, we'll struggle and we'll be deceived, we'll be trickery. And we've seen this so much over the last few years, where so many people have been deceived and fell for the trickery because they're not really connecting, perhaps maybe at a soul level, their channel's not clear, or they're not following their intuition, they're letting fear dominate, they're letting the shadow element dominate their life. And that can be the same in marketing, because how could you say, very manipulative marketing, even dishonest marketing, has been used for so long that sometimes we're trying to I do it myself. I'm trying to do things a certain way, but because we're so programmed to see certain things all the time, we maybe do things a certain way. And our customers more than ever, our clients more than ever, want to see not just transparency, but they want to feel solidness. They want to know that your products and services really do what it says in the packet. And that's why I think we're all having to own more of our power and really focus more as zero genius. We're all kind of up leveling and retweaking, and it's getting us more clear so that we are owning our strength, because it's very hard to own your strength and stand in your power if you're trying to do lots of things that you may be really good at but is not your greatest strength and greatest power, or things that you may be okay at. I'm going to give you examples. So sometimes I've been in situations where I've been working in groups, which is not always the easiest, where people have all different ideas about things. And one of the hardest things that I found, where I had to think, oh, how am I going to deal with this, was situations when I was working with lots of people that would class themselves intuitives and psychics. And I was maybe helping someone with a business, and it's a group coaching scenario. You're trying to teach something, help them understand something, but then everyone has their own opinion of what they're seeing or interpreting. And what can happen is it's like too many cooks trying to, like, can spoil the broth. Everybody's got their own way of doing it or interpreting something. And I remember one situation, it caused a big problem in my business, and I lost a few clients for this, because it's a long story, but it started off with a situation with different people putting their opinion in a situation. And I didn't even get explaining what I was trying to teach about brand and whatever. And what happened then, the person that was asking for the help was so confused by everybody else's opinion. And I never getting finish into what I was trying to tell, explain to people, and things that they should think about it. And in many ways, what people were bringing in, it was, we were talking about logos and brands, and it was not appropriate for logos and brandings, and it wasn't appropriate for the same thing. And the trickery and deception is the same in the world. Sometimes we get so bombarded by everybody else's opinion, right? And if we don't know ourselves, if we don't know our business well, if we don't know our brand well, if we don't know what we're really here to do and our strengths, it's very easy to be deceived and to be tricked. And that doesn't always mean that people are deliberately trying to trick you or deceive you. They're only coming with the information and the insight that they have at that point, right? That's why I always believe it's so important as spiritual workers that we really work on our soul connection, right? We really work on not just our intuition, but our soul connection, because I believe that your soul connection helps you connect to more higher dimensions. It helps you filter out what's more pure, right? And one of the things that I've learned more and more seeing in situations where miraculous healings have occurred with things that people would say, well, you can't recover from that, was when it was to do with the soul power and the soul connection. The soul power and soul connection in most people is very low, even people that are highly spiritual. And when you up level the soul power and the soul connection, things can shift, okay? So just remember that we all can be deceived in all sorts of ways. And it's like a child. It's easy to deceive a child. A child is light and naive and believes that everyone is like them, right? Until the child starts to grow up and they realize that hide and seek and certain things, the way that people maybe don't play fair, right? And then they start to see little tricks that the adults play on them, and they start to realize that that's not exactly. And I remember one friend saying to me, as a child, I think it was a grandfather or a father used to imply that money didn't just grow on trees. You found money on the ground. She says she spent most of her childhood looking for money on the ground, thinking that's where you got money. And beliefs can keep us stuck. But also when we are dependent on other people in the outside world, it can, and sometimes we're so deceived by the noise. So own your genius, right? Recognize your genius and understand that your audience are, you know, they need evidence. They need to, your message has to be clear. They have to feel you. It's not just showing up in your videos. It's not just about putting pictures of what you've done. It's so much more, and there's more about depth, right? It's depth people need, and people need evidence to see that thing that you can do really well, that you can do really well. Okay, so just a reminder about the trickster. Now, the positive aspect of the trickster is the ability to make fun with people and have a lighter aspect, and that little forms of trickery, as in making people see things from a different perspective, right, and helping people open up to that things can be an illusion and that we're living in illusion. Even on a spiritual level, the way that the 3D world is, it's very much an illusion. So the positive aspect can help us see that. And also with illusion, helps us become more mature, helps us become more wiser. It helps us rely more, go back and be still, and not be easily led by other people's. And it's one of the biggest things that I had to learn was I had so many other people's opinions, intuitive opinions about my health and so many things. And some of them were all polar opposites. And it brought me back to the power of always, when it comes back to, you can sometimes get maybe advice about something, an area you're not strong at, but it's also about coming back to yourself and making sure when you are getting the advice that you're getting someone that's a special, you know, that's an area of specialty. It's not just something that they do is just a little extra. Okay, so I hope you're all having a great day and enjoy the rest of your week. And I will be letting you know very soon. I'll be giving you, some of you that have been on some of my coaching programs, who maybe bought a lot of my programs, will be getting access to my new spiritual band quiz. And for those of you who have not, I'm hoping to eventually run the Unlock Power of Your Archetype course next week. But what I've had to change, there's some tech inputs and all sorts of things, and I just realized, no, I had to put it on hold. So it's going to be a new link, because there was an issue with that link on what to do with the payment. I hope you all have enjoyed the rest of your week, and just remember that we all at times, we're all we're all fooled at times, right? And yeah, it may feel like sting, it may cause a lot of anxiety, overwhelm when we have been deceived, and frustration and anger, and like then that's a lot of trauma and old stuff coming up to be healed as well. So we've always got to remember that, and it's about being kind and compassionate with ourselves, but just remembering things. It's, if you can understand that from your consumer's point of view, you maybe look at it, because sometimes we're so personally involved in our business, and what we don't see things objectively from the consumer's perspective. We see things from our perspective, and it's so important that we put ourselves in our client's shoes or our customer's shoes. Okay, bye-bye, everyone. Bye.